Hey, what is up guys, it's Cam here. Today is going to be a long overdue video and I haven't actually posted a video on this channel in quite some time. I am sorry for that. I have been very busy this summer and haven't gotten a chance to do this until now. But anyways, we're going to be ranking 15 movies I have seen from this year of 2026. We're going to be ranking them worst to best. And if you guys like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. And without further ado, let's get into the video. Alright, if you're wondering why I changed shirts, it's because this is filmed on a different day from my intro. But anyways, we're going to get into it. For our bottom pick, bottom of the barrel for this video, number 15 on our list is going to be the movie Body Cam. Now, this was a Shudder original that I was actually finding out about, and I actually thought it would be decent. I liked the concept, but my God, it was not that way. It was not even close to decent. It was awful. What surprised me on this one is that it actually had high ratings. What? But the actors in this movie are what brought the biggest downfall for it. It was the problem with it by far. The actors were absolutely trash. They didn't even really show much emotion. They didn't get into their characters. I could tell they'd been to drama class maybe a few times and they went with it and somehow got hired to do this movie. I don't know how this director thought they were talented enough to even do a movie like this. Because the concept, like I said, was cool, and I still think that. I think the movie was actually a really cool concept, and I thought it could have been done a lot better if they had just put different actors in. The actors in this movie were just all around bad. They were cheesy. Then every time there was an emotional scene, I wasn't believing they were actually emotional. There were no tears shed, nothing. It was just kind of like, I'm scared. Like the basic acting kind of stuff, you know? But it was just like, all around, not a very good movie. I wish it was delivered a lot better because, like I said, again, it's a cool concept. You've got two officers going around a town and something horrific happens and it's all caught on a body cam. It's like really cool the way it could have been done, but it just wasn't done that way. And the actors, God, I can't get enough of how bad the actors were on this movie. Well, let's move on. I'm going to give this one, I'm going to actually give ratings for these movies, by the way. So this one's definitely going to be like a 2 out of 10. This movie was absolute trash. Like I said, it had a cool concept, which is the only reason I'm giving it not a 1. But this is a 2 out of 10 for me. All right, number 14 on our list is going to be Markiplier's Iron Lung. And before I get into the review of this one, I just want to state that I appreciate what Markiplier did. He inspired a lot of people with this movie, and he achieved something not many can do. So I fully appreciate what he's done with this movie. Whether it was a good movie in my eyes or not, he did good things with this movie. And I feel like he inspired a whole generation of people that you can be a filmmaker without a studio. It's hard, but passion projects can make it a long way. I'm seeing a lot of people become that were YouTubers become these film directors. And I'm really enjoying seeing that because honestly, the stuff that we've had in Hollywood lately has just been sequel after sequel after prequel after prequel. It's just expanding too much on these franchises, and I don't like that. I want movies that actually are one and done, but are well done, that are actually there's thought put into these films. So the fact that these YouTubers are doing better than Hollywood right now is surprising, but it's actually working right now to me. I actually enjoy what we're getting from YouTubers right now. But in Markiplier's case, I really didn't care for this film, and the biggest part that I didn't like was the runtime. It just kept going and going and going, and it could have ended in so many different ways before it actually ended, and it would have been better if it had done those ways. I feel it just kept going down routes that I didn't know what was even going on. This movie was super confusing, and the thing is, people say that you have to play the game, the lore, and all that to understand this movie. I played the game. I didn't like that either. I'm not gonna lie. The game was trash too. And I don't want to say Markiplier's movie was trash because honestly, his movie was a lot better than the game was. The game, all that you really do is you just go around a submarine. And for those who don't know, you go around a submarine in the ocean of blood in this moon, and you're pretty much blind and you're just looking for coordinates. It's literally in the entire game until the very end, the monster eats you. So I am glad that Markiplier put a lot more effort into this movie and put more stuff to it than the game did. But at the same time, it just didn't work. It made it kind of confusing. There was no really explanations of these flashbacks that are shown. I didn't really get it, and it didn't have the flashbacks didn't weren't in the game at all. So maybe I just didn't. Maybe I need to research some lore, I guess, around it. I don't know, but I didn't understand what the heck was going on most of the time, and I felt like the runtime just kept going and going. It made the movie feel way too drawn out. Now, I will give some pros to this movie as well. I really like the way Markiplier did his shots, his transitions, and the way he shot this film. He did some creative stuff in this movie. I'm not gonna get full on harp on this movie like it's bad. I will say the runtime is bad. The writing might have been a little iffy, but the shots were really creative, and I really liked Markiplier's acting. And overall, he was a pretty good actor in this one. Usually, you see YouTubers as actors, and they are not good at all. They don't know how to act. So the fact that Markiplier actually gave a solid performance was really surprising to me. I really enjoyed his performance, at least. So I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to harp completely on this movie. Just didn't care for it in my eyes. Before this movie, I'm probably going to give this like a 4 out of 10. It was a lot better than, it was at least 2 ratings higher than Body Cam. I will say Body Cam is the bottom of the barrel by far. But Iron Lung actually had some creative stuff to it. So I'll give this one a 4 out of 10. All right, number 13 on our list is going to be, and this one hurts me, Steven Spielberg's Disclosure Day. I was so excited for this movie, and I was not pleased at all with it. This movie was not like I thought it would be. The trailers put you off on this route that it didn't go on. It made you think it was going to be something it wasn't, and it wasn't at all. It wasn't even good. For those who don't know, this movie is a Steven Spielberg sci-fi film about pretty much disclosure for the alien files, Area 51, all the stuff about aliens' existence on our planet to the world, saying that we already have aliens on our planet, and exposing that to the world. And this movie did not do it well at all. This movie had bits and pieces that were good. Most of it was very corny and cringy and just like cheesy of all like I've never seen before. And then there were parts where like the people who are keeping this alien secret, this big classification secret for all of these years are the most like stupid people ever. They are like stormtroopers in Star Wars. It's like they don't do anything correctly. They don't do anything correctly, and they act like they're like with their head cut off, like wandering around like they don't know what they're doing. And these are the people that are keeping this secret for so long. I mean, there's a whole scene where this guy, a whole army of them show up and try to get the guy that's trying to declassify these files. And he's hiding behind a wide open fence behind them. And they're all looking, every single one of them is looking this way while he's behind them. I mean, like, how in the heck are they that incompetent? I don't understand. Like, these are the people that are supposed to be keeping it secret, this big, gigantic secret for the world. And they're that dumb? I mean, you would think someone would at least look around or something, because he was behind a wide open fence. This movie just wasn't very realistic in that kind of way. And then there were times where the Emily Blunt character, I don't even remember her name, I think it was Maggie, actually, she has this ability to like read people's minds, and the people see like a relative of theirs that is dead as she's walking past walking past everyone. She pretty much manipulates them all into getting her into this building. And every time someone sees their dead relative after she reads their mind and pretty much portrays their dead relative, they all go and just stay like that for like the whole time. I'm like, this is so cringe. It was such a hard scene to watch, bro. I just don't understand this movie. And it was just so corny and cringy. And Steven Spielberg could have done so much better with this. I mean, how could this go wrong? And Steven Spielberg and sci-fi go hand in hand almost every time, but this time it didn't. Anyways, and I know I'm going to say one other thing about this movie. I usually don't harp on CGI, but my God, this was horrible, horrible CGI. And I'm only going to harp on this because Steven Spielberg is a huge director. He should have these kinds of budgets that are able to make good CGI and make it look actually real instead of AI generated footage. The CGI in this movie did not look realistic at all. It looked like something you would have seen back in like the early 2000s, maybe early 2010s. It was so out of date, and I just don't understand how this could have gone so wrong. And again, the ratings are out off the roof. I might be the odd one out, but I've seen other people saying the same things I'm saying right now. So it's an either or. Like, you either enjoy it a lot or you hate it like I do. I just thought this was such a disappointment. Steven Spielberg could do way better than this. So if I were to give this film a rating, this would probably be a 4 out of 10 as well. This was not a good movie. And probably one of the only movies I actually wanted to walk out of the theater for because I was so disappointed. All right, we're going to move on though. Number 12 on our list is going to be the movie Honey Bunch. There's actually not much I thought this movie did wrong. I just thought the big thing about it was that it was forgettable as all get out. If someone put a gun to my head right now and said, name a character off of Honey Bunch, I'd die right then and there. I don't remember any characters in this movie. And I didn't even see it that long ago. I mean, like, I felt like this kind of just rambled off of my mind and just went away. It disappeared. Like, all the memories I have of this movie are gone. Except for a few. Like, the plot and stuff, like the stuff that actually happens, the events of the movie, I kind of remember some of that, but like the characters' names, mostly, I don't remember any of them. But anyways, the first half of this film is actually not that bad. I thought it was more of a horror mystery kind of thing where it was like, it makes you uncomfortable and it makes you think something really bad is going on. And honestly, when you get to the second half of the film, you do realize something bad is going on, but it's like not the way you would have thought. And that's not a negative thing, but the way they did it was like so weird and wacky and kind of like a comedy thing. Like, I don't know, it was like kind of humorous in a way. It's kind of goofy compared to what was horror mystery in the very first half. So I felt like the first half of the film and the second half didn't really match up very well because they were very different styles of this like of genre. But yeah, overall, this movie is just forgettable. I mean, I remember bits and pieces, like I said, of the events that happened in it. But overall, don't remember the characters' names. Really, I don't remember most of this movie. And it's weird because I just saw it recently. So, but if I were to give this movie a rating, I'd probably give this like a 5 out of 10. I think it's perfect 5 out of 10 because it's literally so forgettable. It's mid. It's completely a mid movie, I will say. All right, next up, number 11 on the list is going to Undertone. Now, for this movie, I had mixed expectations going into it. So I didn't know from the trailer if this was going to be a good or a bad movie. It kind of didn't really give you much. And I will say there were lots of parts I did like about this movie. And there were a few parts that kind of put it down for me, down lower on the list. I really did like the audio horror. I know that's what it was marketed as, this big audio horror movie that's going to be really scary. And it did have me uncomfortable. It had me pretty uncomfortable, had me tense in my seat at the theater. I mean, the audio was creepy and it had you intense, like in a tense form, because it's a creepy audio and it's like just hearing people, some weird things happen with this family on this audio file series that these podcasters are listening to. And I felt like it was so tense, but then the build up, it was a tense build up to nothing in the end. I felt like the ending was just a big letdown. It didn't really give you much. It just kind of ended off where it looked like something big was going to happen. It didn't really do that though, because it just ends the movie there. But I did like the audio horror movie. And another complaint I will have about this movie is that it also marketed it as a like super, super scary movie. Like this could be the scariest movie of the year. One of those kinds of things. And half the time it never is. I mean, this was not that scary. It had me tense. It had me creeped out. But my God, it was not the scariest movie of this year anyway, or in any way, shape, or form. Like I don't know why movies tend to do that nowadays, where they oversell it like that, and it never turns out to be as scary as it sounds like. That was a letdown. But I will say, like I said, I already had mixed expectations coming into this, so I honestly wasn't that disappointed because I didn't know what to really expect. But I will say the big things that I also didn't like about this movie there were some big plot holes with this movie. Like the baby stuff that's in this movie. I'm not going to say what necessarily it is and spoil anything, but there's a lot of stuff about babies and children in this movie, and that's not really done well. It doesn't really, like, the ending already sells you short, but that also is just never really explained that well towards the ending. You would have thought that the big reveal or something would be something with the children, because that's what this movie mainly talks about. And I just don't think it fit. And then the mother also is somehow this main character's mother is somehow possessed by this audio file too. And there's some visuals that are there that are kind of creepy, but they don't give enough about that either. So this movie was just kind of a mid movie overall. If I were to give this movie a rating out of 10, it would also probably be a 5 out of 10, just down in the middle, right in the middle of the list, but honestly not super impressed. And number 10 on our list, we have Exit 8. Now, if you had asked me last year about an Anomaly game being put into a movie form, I wouldn't have believed you. I wouldn't have believed you at all. But somehow they did it right in this movie. They did it really pretty well. They bring you a lot. For those who don't know, I'm gonna actually explain this first. Exit 8 is a game where you pretty much walk around in a whole loop of like a subway station in Japan or something, and you're looping around trying to find something off. It's like kind of spot the difference kind of thing. And if you don't spot the difference, you have to go back all the way to where you started, and you have to keep going until you get 8 of those right, I think. Or maybe it's 10, I can't remember. But it's pretty much like a loop of things, and until you get everything right 10 times in a row, you get to leave and go back to your normal life. So they did that in the movie, and they did it really well. I will say they did it in an interesting way, which I never thought would happen, because the game doesn't really bring movie material to it. I wouldn't think it would, but they did add some stuff to it that made it into that. So for this movie, they added a main character that you actually truly care about. And they brought his wife and his newborn child, which he's not wanting to be a dad. And he's pretty much found out right as he enters this place that he's gonna be a dad. So the whole rest of this movie is him realizing how he's kind of been selfish, because in the beginning of the movie he does some selfish things to his wife and some people in the subway. He doesn't really help out. So he kind of regrets his decisions in the past, and it leads up to kind of a redemption arc for him. So I did like this movie. I really thought the Exit 8, like, 'cause normally sometimes when games are made into movies, they don't look like the game. So the fact that this looked almost exactly spot on to the game was really cool to me. So anyways, I really like this movie, and I think it had some really creepy scenes in it too with the anomalies. Overall, this movie was decent. I wouldn't say it's above anything that I have next up, but I think it was a good horror movie. We're down to the good stuff now. So if I were to give this a rating out of 10, I'd probably give this like a 6.5 out of 10. It wasn't perfect by any means, but it was a decent horror movie. I really was impressed by this one. All right, and next up on our list, we have actually the most recent horror movie I've seen from this year, and it came out early this year. It's called Heal Good Boy. This movie was a decent movie. I think the plot holes at the end, I will say the first half is 10 times better than the second half. The first half actually made me think this was going to be like a really, really messed up horror movie that was like just really weird and wacky. But then the second half came and it kind of turned into like a weird drama. I don't know how to describe it. It kind of became this weird crime drama. And it kind of felt like it wasn't like that in the very first half. The first half was pretty like it was gonna lead up to something messed up, but the second half wasn't that way. From the ratings I've seen, I thought this movie would be similar to Bring Her Back from last year, where it just doesn't pull its punches and it's just a messed up horror movie. This movie was messed up in ways, but it didn't like scare me in any way, shape, or form. It didn't have me on the edge of my seat or anything like that. Like I said, the first half made me think it was going to be like a really decent thriller, but it wasn't like I thought it would be. But anyways, I thought this movie was still decent. I thought there was bits and pieces about this movie that I didn't like. They have an explanation that is never explained. It's like a very vague mention on what I wanted to be explained, but it never fully is. But I'm going to give a synopsis for this movie before I actually get into that. There's a really troublesome youth named Tommy. He just gets into drugs. He's really just crazy. He beats people up out on the streets if they're just walking past him. He's a gigantic jerk. And he just doesn't live in the real world where he does things that are nice and doesn't do anything like that. He's just kind of like a really mean dude. So the whole movie is him getting captured by this family that locks him in their basement and then treats him, tries to reform him into a better man. And it takes some time. They put him on a dog chain, like a collar kind of thing, and they chain him up, and he's trying to escape the whole time. And I thought this movie would be towards something else, but like I said, they make it look towards the end of the movie, especially, that there was someone else down in that basement that was also being reformed. But at the same time, the family acts like they really truly cared about that person, and something definitely went wrong with it, but they never explained what happened. So I felt like that was a weird plot hole to have. Then there was a thing about a maid that is supposed to be quiet about his existence in the house, and she gets kidnapped by her old work, and then that's it. There's nothing else about her. So I felt like they fumbled the ending quite a bit. They didn't explain two major things this movie was supposed to explain. Like I don't know what happened there, but overall, I really did like the first half of this movie. It was just a really weird movie, I will say. Very, very weird and not explained very well at the very end. But overall, I still enjoyed it. I'm gonna give this one like a 6.5 out of 10 too. I didn't think this one was that great, but it had some good parts in it. Like I said, the first half made me think it was gonna lead to something else, but second half didn't really impress me. Alrighty, and next up on our list is going to be the movie Send Help at number 8. Now, at the time this came out, Iron Lung and Send Help were the two top movies of this year. It kind of upsets me to say this, but the Hollywood one beat Iron Lung by far. I didn't care for Iron Lung that much, but I did like a lot of Send Help. And I really like Dylan O'Brien. He's in one of my favorite book series of all time, the Maze Runner series. He's really good in those, and I don't think I've seen him in anything else, but in those, he's great. And a lot of this movie was really well done. I will say the very first half, like not first half, but first part of the movie when they're in the office, it's kind of awkward with Rachel McAdams' character because she's like this weird, quirky lady that's an older lady, and she has like old people humor. And Dylan O'Brien's the new, younger boss, and he hates her, says she smells bad, says all these mean things to her. So it kind of makes you just like depressed at the start. Kind of makes you feel bad for her. But then when they get on the island, and it is really kind of cringy to watch. It's just a really hard thing to watch at the start. And I know they're probably self-aware about that. They probably did that on purpose. But then when you get to the island, it gets a lot more interesting. More events start to happen, and then you start rooting for Rachel McAdams' character. There's a big saying in this movie, or a big thing about you can't be born evil, but you can be made that way. It's a monster, not evil. You can't be born a monster, but you can be made into one. So I like that kind of motto this movie gives, and I like the message it had, because then I'm not going to spoil anything, but there are some elements that show that really towards the end, especially a lot. So they really did that part well. Now, the thing I really didn't care about this movie for, it just seemed weird, was that Rachel McAdams kind of wanted Dylan O'Brien and her to be only ones on the island towards the end, and kind of formed like a wannabe romantic relationship. It's kind of weird because the way the movie starts, you wouldn't ever expect that to happen because they're fighting. They're really mean to one another. So seeing that at the end kind of was weird. I feel like that didn't fit. But overall, this movie was pretty good. I just felt like it could have had more to it. I don't know. I liked the movie overall. I think it did everything it was supposed to do mostly well, but I wish there was more to it. I just wish there was more oomph to it, you know? But if I were to give this movie a rating out of 10, I'd probably give this one like a 7.5. This was still a decent movie. Alrighty, and next up, we have a movie that I feel like is super underrated. At number 7, we have Greenland 2 Migration. Now, I loved the first Greenland movie. I thought they did that natural disaster stuff so well in that movie. It really made it feel like if this were to truly happen, this would happen. Like this, it felt like a lot of intense moments in this movie. It's very intense to watch because there are so many moments where this family is just trying to survive while this planet is destroying comets coming down. Now, there are bits and pieces that are obviously cheesy and they somehow get saved in the end of it, but I felt like overall that was a really good movie. And I really think Greenland 2 Migration was a worthwhile sequel. I think it had done a lot of things right. I think people just hate on this movie for no reason at all. I don't know. I think there are some reasons to hate on it, but I don't think it deserves the ratings it got, like such low ratings, because it was a decent movie. I really liked a lot of the action in this movie, and I really liked how they threw you off in the trailer as well. They make you think in the trailer that you're stuck in this bunker majority of this movie, and they're trying to find ways to get out. But in the beginning of this movie, you realize it's not going to turn out that way. Very, like, I would say maybe first 10 minutes you start to realize that. So I really did enjoy this movie. Now, the thing I didn't really care for quite much is that they meet a family down the line in this movie that is pretty much during everything that's supposed to be really hostile, and there's a literal war going on between two sides of a communities, and it looks like World War II trenches at one set part. But anyways, there's a family has the family that we know at gunpoint, and you would think that people like that, like in that kind of a situation, in that kind of like a comet destroying the earth almost, you would think people would be out of their minds, insane, not have any humanity left, like a lot of the movies and shows have. In this movie, he kind of just has them at gunpoint, and they kind of reveal who they are, and he just kind of accepts that. He kind of just like takes their word for it. And I feel like that wasn't quite that realistic, because if it was actually the apocalypse, I feel like a lot of people wouldn't trust at all. I don't think that would have ever happened. But overall, this movie was decent. I really did like the action. I really liked a lot of the scenes. I really liked the emotion in this movie. There was a lot of emotional scenes, and I really think it was a sad movie overall. It had you invested. So overall, I think this movie did its part. I think it did its part very well. So if I were to give this movie a rating out of 10, it'd probably also be like a 7.5 around that area out of 10. Yeah, I think this was a worthwhile sequel, and I think it should have deserved a lot more attention than it got. All right, number 6 on our list is going to be the movie Hokum. Now, with 2024's Oddity, made by the same director of this film, I really expected this movie to be top notch, like super scary, because Oddity has some of the best scares I've had in super long, still to this day. Had some really, really scary, like, jump scares. They had some really effective stuff in that movie, and it was rarely actually like a legitimate horror movie. So the fact, I mean, and this movie was still decent. I have it at number 6, so I mean, it's pretty high up the list. But was it as scary as Oddity? No way. It was nowhere close. Now, he also made a movie called Caveat. The same director made a movie called Caveat. I will say it's scarier than that one. I didn't really care for Caveat, so I mean, this one was better as a movie to me. But I will say that a lot of the stuff at the end is a lot more effective than the stuff in the beginning of this movie. At the beginning of this movie, you're pretty much met by Adam Sandler's character, and he's kind of a jerk. He's a real big jerk, and he's not very nice to the employees. He's very rude. Even after he's an author, so some of the people know him and read his books, and they want to like tell him, "Oh, I want to be a writer too." And he just comes up with the most jerk response ever, the biggest jerk ever. But at the end, I will say they have you kind of rooting for him, because he is trying to save some people, and he's trying to do good in the end. He kind of becomes reformed, but not as much as you thought he would be, because at the end he's in the hospital, and he's going back to the guy he was a jerk to that was a fan of his books, and he's still a jerk. Still a jerk to him after all this reform stuff. But anyways, that's a separate issue, but that is one of the issues I have with this movie. I felt like the redemption of this character, the redemption arc, kind of fell flat because they messed it up at the end, the very, very end, because they made it look like it was going to be good. But then they kind of messed it up at that hospital scene. But there's a whole scene with the demons. I will say there's a pretty scary scene that is dealing with the demons, and in this whole room that in the cellar of the basement, pretty much of this hotel, where all the bad stuff is happening, where the witch is supposed to be. And when this guy's getting pulled into this room of just dark figures of people with red eyes, it is a really intense scene. I will say that was the scariest scene in this movie by far. But overall, this movie was nowhere close to Oddity's level of scares, I will say. I wish it had more scare to it, because I felt like some of the jump scares in Oddity, like I said, they were super effective. But most of the jump scares in this movie fell flat. Jump scares alone. It still had some creepy elements and some scary scenes, but the jump scares mostly fell flat until like maybe one at the end, towards the end. There's one or two that had me jump, but nowhere close to like Oddity's level at all. So I felt like this one wasn't near as good as Oddity, but I don't want to like take that away from this movie it's alone because this is its own separate thing, just the same director. So overall, this movie was a good movie, and I thought it had some good elements to it. So I mean, I like this movie. I just wish it had more to it on the scare factor because I was just expecting so much more after seeing Oddity. But anyways, if I were to give this movie a rating out of 10, this would be an 8 out of 10. I think this was a pretty good horror movie, like fairly well. It was pretty well done. I just wish it was a lot like Oddity, where it had more scare to it. But other than that, it was a good movie. All right, number 5 on our list is going to be Redux Redux. Now, I kind of debated whether this movie should have been higher or not because this movie was a phenomenal movie. I will say this is starting to get into the very, very good stuff now. So, Redux Redux had some really good stuff in it. It was a really unique idea to have too. The concept of this movie was really cool, and they executed it very well as well. So, for those who don't know this movie, and probably a lot don't know because I haven't heard many people talk about this movie alone, but this movie is pretty much about a mother who's found this time machine and she's traveling back and forth in time to kill the murderer of her daughter over and over and over again, to where she's pretty much just that's her life. She just goes back in time and murders this guy on repeat. Obviously, that's not all it is. She finds some people. She finds another girl that has also been kidnapped by the same man in one of these universes. And it's really cool seeing these two, the girl and the mother, become a duo in this. And they really work well together. And the acting is a phenomenal. I will say there are some stuff that I felt like didn't fit, such as there's a part where the mother is, after doing all this repeated killing, she kind of goes off to a bar sometimes and meets this guy that she just kind of falls in love with for like a one night stand kind of thing, and then goes back in time. I just felt like that didn't fit because she's like this really badass killer, and she just kind of has a side quest where she goes to meet with a guy and just hooks up with him. I mean, that one wasn't really needed. I don't think that was a really necessary like element to this movie. But at the same time, I kind of understand it because she's done all this killing, so she kind of needs some kind of relief from all this killing she's been doing, because it can obviously it messes people up. So yeah, I think that's exactly why they were doing it. I just felt like it could have fit a little better than it did. But I will say the ending had me in like really tense. Like I thought that they were going to lose in the battle against the killer of her daughter because he gets a handle on them. So it is pretty intense, and I really liked I would say 99% of this movie, I had me at the edge of my seat. I was really engaged in this movie. I did not expect it to be as good as it was, too. This was a phenomenal movie, very well done, and I just really liked it. I thought it was a really cool concept, executed well. If I were to give this movie a rating out of 10, this would definitely probably be like a 9 out of 10. This was a really good movie. All right, but anyways, we're going to move on to number 4 on our list, which is going to be a surprise to some, but this is going to be the spot for Obsession. Now, like I said at number 5, we are in the very good movie spot. So even with my thoughts on this film, even the cons I have for it, this is still a really good movie to me. There are a lot of things to like about this movie. Now, I will say, did it have the scare factor? People make it seem like this movie was really scary, like horror scary. And it wasn't quite that. I don't think it scared me like that in the way people are making it sound. But I will say it had me creeped out, and it had me very tense in some scenes. It didn't have me scared, though. There's a difference to me. I just feel like some people oversell these kinds of scary movies. Like, they make it look like it's going to be like the scariest thing of the year, and it's so disturbing you're to poop your pants. And it's never really the case. It's not like that ever. So the fact that it kind of marketed it as that, and some people who have already seen the movie say it's like that. I just didn't get that from it. I don't know. People are saying the director of this movie was a genius. Like, I liked the movie, but not that much. I think there's some better stuff from this year upcoming, but I did like this movie. I thought the performances were what carried this movie completely. The performances by the guy who plays Bear and the girl who plays Nikki were phenomenal. excellent acting, and they're actually not talent like they're not professional actors or anything. But they did their part. They did really good on like their acting was so anxiety inducing, and I really like those kinds of movies, kind of like Smile, where the main character is like deteriorating in their mental state, and their sanity is going downhill big time after something that's happening. And it's like one of those things where you just watch this character deteriorate and go downhill completely. So I really like this movie in that way. I really enjoy a lot of those types of movies. I think that the big thing for this movie is the acting. That's the best thing about this movie. And I really did like the concept of this movie too. Now, like I said, the scare factor just wasn't there for me. I was creeped out. I was in intense form, but I didn't have that scare factor that a lot of people are saying they had with this movie. I just didn't. Um, I don't want to take that away from it though, because this is a good movie in its own right. I just felt like it was marketed incorrectly. I think people just overrate this movie to make me think this is not that good. So it kind of makes me talk more negatively about this movie, but there are a lot of good parts about this movie. I really love the cinematography of this movie. I really loved the square. I know this is popular nowadays. You see a lot of horror movies like this, but the square picture. And I really liked how they used darkness in this movie. Like when Nikki's normal, you see her face. But when after the wish happens by Bear, and he asks for Nikki to love him for the rest of her life, more than anyone in the whole world, then her face kind of just gets like in the shadowy form where you don't really see her facial expressions. You just kind of see the glimmer in her eyes. So it kind of makes you, it definitely helps interpret which Nikki is normal from the beginning. And now we're kind of down to this demonic kind of Nikki that's been completely taken over by this wish. So I really like that. I really liked how you can tell this is normal Nikki. This is not normal Nikki. And there are bits and pieces of the movie where the demon Nikki is still the main Nikki, but you can hear the normal Nikki and her, like without the wish, before the wish, crying out for help to Bear. Like there's parts where she says, kill me, to get it over with. So she doesn't have to endure the pain of this wish, of this demon that's inhabited her body after this wish was made. So I really like that. And that was kind of a hard to watch scene. It is a sad scene to see a normal person get manipulated like that. And Nikki didn't really have any control over the situation. She had no idea this was going to happen. So, and honestly, you really don't quite like Bear. As much as you kind of see how he's kind of regretted his actions, you kind of wish for that, because he there's instances where he knows what's going on. He can see that the wish has caused this, and yet he still tries to take advantage of her in a way. So you do kind of dislike the main character in a lot of ways. He's not a very good guy. There's a lot of things that he's done that now affect other people in his friend group. That is pretty brutal in one part, but I'm not going to spoil what that is. But overall, I really did like this movie. It had some really cool ideas to it. It had really good acting, really good performances, really good cinematography. I just wish it had more scare factor to it. That's all. All right, and at number 3, we have Toy Story 5. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be like, you put Obsession under Toy Story 5. I like Toy Story. I grew up with Toy Story 3. I saw it in theaters when I was little. I've always had a soft spot for Toy Story movies, and they're all great to me. Um, and I even think this one was a little better than the last one. But will anything touch the first 3? No, not by any means. But this movie was still good. It had a lot to like about it, and it made you have a good message. It had some serious moments, even though it was like a Disney film. It had some like pretty emotional scenes. Like it had some good stuff in it. It didn't just have comedy the whole time. It had some good stuff. It had a very good mixture, when to be funny and when to be serious. It knew what it was doing. And I really always just love the comedy in these types of movies. They always just know, like normally in Disney movies now, they're cringe. They don't really put much work into them, especially a lot of the Pixar movies now. There's just not much about it to like. So the fact that we have a Toy Story 5 now, is it needed? No, but it still meets requirements of its viewers. It still raises expectations because it ends up being a good movie still. Like I said, it's not needed. I really felt like 3 ended off at a perfect spot, but I still enjoyed this movie. I still liked how they did it. I mean, there's not a single bad Toy Story movie to me, but I really did like this movie. I think, like I said, it had a great message about technology and how it's kind of just taking over, especially in the world we live in with AI now. This is a really good idea for a movie, for toys, especially. This is a great idea for the villain of Toy Story. And it makes you realize a lot of things, even as an adult. It makes you think like, what are we doing with all this AI stuff, these technology, these devices? It's kind of like rotting our brains. And as we already know that, this kind of puts it into like a different kind of picture for you. But anyways, I really like this movie. I thought it had a lot of good stuff in it. Now, I will say, I thought as much as I love Jesse being the main character in this one, I thought Woody needed a little bit more screen time. But still, overall, this was still a really good movie. Still, I mean, Toy Story has never let me down ever. Even after I thought 4 would be bad, even that one being my least favorite was a great movie still. Like this movie, this whole franchise just keeps on going with great movies. They take their time with them. They make it funny. They make it really good. And I just love the continuation now. I at first, like I said, I thought 3 had a perfect ending, a great spot to leave it off on, and they kept going, and I thought that would mean that it would be, oh no, here we go again with more sequels where they're just going to ruin the whole franchise. But for this franchise, that is not the case at all. Every movie has been good in its own right. I will say proudly that I like this more than Obsession. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with that, but I just thought this movie marketed itself as it was supposed to, and my expectations were met. My expectations were met and were raised actually in some ways. But Obsession made me think it was going to be something that it really wasn't in some ways. It just didn't lead me to being this scary, you're going to poop your pants movie. But Toy Story marketed as this kind of movie that it actually turned out to be. So I really did like that. I liked how I don't like it when movies kind of throw you off about with the trailer and make you think it's going to be something completely different, and it makes you really invested in what you're going to see, what you see from the trailer, and then that's not what the movie gives you. So, and I can't remember if I gave Obsession a rating out of 10. If I were to give Obsession a rating out of 10, if I haven't done this already, that would be a 9 out of 10. And I think the same goes for Toy Story. I'm going to give this one a 9 out of 10 as well, just a little bit above Obsession still, but they're around the same area. I just really liked how Toy Story marketed it as it was supposed to. So that's why it's above Obsession in this. But anyways, we're going to move on to my second favorite movie of this year, which is The Backrooms. The Backrooms movie was a really good movie. And I've heard a lot of people crap on this movie saying it doesn't explain all this kind of stuff. But in a way, that's a good thing. I honestly really like movies that make you think and make you kind of think, what is the Backrooms? What how did this become a thing? So the fact that it doesn't put that right out to you and just give it to you on a platter is a good thing. I like when they make you think of these kinds of things on your own. So that was a good thing for this movie. And I really thought this movie was a lot scarier than Obsession was. I thought this movie had some really cool stuff to it. And I felt like it made me more uncomfortable too. I've always really liked the Backrooms idea. So when I see Captain Clark like come out of the Backrooms like he did, it creeped me out. I mean, how would it not? It's like the creepiest big gigantic creature that I've seen in a movie in a long time. So this movie was really good. I really enjoyed a lot of this movie, and I really liked how they kind of explain some stuff, but leave a lot to have you as the audience to think about what is the Backrooms, how is this existing. But anyways, if I were to give this movie a rating out of 10, I'd probably give this a 9.5 out of 10. This was a near perfect movie. I really enjoyed this movie a lot. But anyways, we're going to move on to number 1. My favorite movie of this year is going to go to 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple. Now, a lot of people thought this would be like a extension for the movie that came out last year, 28 Years Later. This is actually a sequel. The second movie in this trilogy. It just came out very soon after the first one. And I hated the first one. I did not care for the first one. It was probably my least favorite movie of last year. This one exceeded my expectations far. This was so much better. So much better. I loved everything they did with this movie pretty much. I really loved the ending, and I really hope we get a sequel to this one too. We get the ending of this chapter or this trilogy of this film. This is such a good movie. Such a good movie. And if you haven't seen this movie, I definitely recommend it. This is such a good movie. And I really loved all the performances. I loved especially Ralph Fiennes really did well with his character as the doctor in this movie. They really just threw it out of the ballpark with this movie. They got a home run with this one. This was a great movie. If I were to give this one a rating out of 10, 10 out of 10 completely. This was a great movie. Easily the best movie of this year to me. But anyways, guys, that is going to be the end of the video for today. If any of you have seen any of these movies yourself, don't forget to comment down below your thoughts on these movies. But anyways, guys, I hope you all liked the video. And I will see you all in the next one. Peace.